Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today in this video, we are going over all the chipping tips that I wish I knew sooner that would help me play better golf. I'm gonna share those with you. Be sure to stick around because that last one is probably gonna change your game forever. Let's get right into this one. Enjoy the video. All right, guys, so the first thing we're gonna talk about is feel. Feel is the #1 thing you need to have around the greens when it comes to your short game and your putting. In order to get more feel, I highly suggest taking off your glove. All right, don't chip with your glove on. You need to get as much feel as you can. Getting a good connection with your grip is key, so take your glove off when you're chipping. All right, guys, next thing we're gonna talk about is your setup. Just a quick overview of a general setup when it comes to chipping. I typically will open my stance to my target. If I'm going to this flag that's right here in front of me, my feet are going to be angled to the left of that flag and my club face is going to be pointed at that flag. Ball position is going to be pretty much in the center of my stance. That's going to be your basic setup. You don't want the ball to be too far forward in your stance because that's going to increase the chances that you're going to blade that chip, or you're going to hit behind the ball and you're going to chunk that chip. So next we're going to talk about ball position. How ball position can change with every shot. Your general chipping ball position is going to be right in the center of your stance. Now, talking about the bump and run is usually going to be in the back of your stance, while the flop shot is going to be towards the front of your stance. Next, we're going to talk about weight distribution. Weight distribution on most chips is going to be about 70-30, or 70% of your weight is going to be on the front leg. You don't want to hang back too much because then again, that's going to cause you to hit behind the golf ball, or if you're leaning back too much, you could catch the golf ball right in the center and blade it across the green. So you want to have your weight forward, and you're going to have, again, about 70% of your weight on that front leg, and that way you're coming through and you're hitting that ball first and getting the ball onto the green. I'm teaching you how to hit the flop shot. Let's get into it. First of all you need is a high lofted wedge. I've got my Bettinardi 58 degree. We're gonna try and hit a nice high soft one here. First thing you wanna do, make sure that your lie is fluffy enough to where you can get under the golf ball. If you're sitting down, do not hit a flop shot. Next, you wanna have a nice wide base. Bend those knees. Ball position, you wanna be a little bit forward in your stance. Open that club face. You don't want the club face to be square. Open that club face. You want to have nice low hands. You don't want the hands to be high, nice and low. The big thing is to keep up your speed. If you decelerate, you're going to chunk it, or it's going to go about 2 feet in front of you. So keep up your speed. You want to make sure that your hands stay even or behind the golf ball. You don't want your hands in front of the golf ball because you're going to hit it low. Let's hit one and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Nice wide stance, ball positions forward, open club face, keep up your speed. Be sure to keep those knees bent. You don't want to stand up through impact. That's when you blade it. So piggybacking onto ball position, we're going to talk about trajectory and how ball position can change your trajectory. By having that ball more forward in your stance, you're going to be able to hit it higher. Whereas if you were to put that ball in the center of your stance, it's going to come out with a mid trajectory. And then if you put it in the back of your stance, it's going to come out with a low trajectory. So by having the ball in different spots in your stance, it's going to be able to change the trajectory with one club. You can hit 3 different shots with one club just by changing the ball position and get a different trajectory with every shot. All right, guys, so one thing I want to emphasize is just because you're around the green, that doesn't mean you have to grab a wedge. It doesn't mean you have to grab your lob wedge or your sand wedge just because the pros do it. Lob wedges and sand wedges are very hard to get down to and hit the ball crisply. It takes a lot of practice. That's why I'm going to teach you the bump and run today, because I promise you it is a secret weapon for your game. Let's get right into it. With a 9-iron, you need to get a lower lofted club. You don't need to grab your 60 degree, your 58, even your sand wedge or your gap wedge. I would get a pitching wedge, 9-iron, 8-iron, somewhere in there to start. We're just going to go to this first pin here. The goal here is just to get over this little spot of grass. That way, a lot of people say, well, why don't you just putt it? Well, because this is very unpredictable. You putt this, you could get a hop, a skip, something could grab a grass. You don't want to deal with all this. So you want to land the ball right on the fringe and then get it rolling on the green like a putt. So the goal is to land this one just on the fringe, let it release up the hill towards the hole. Again, you want this to be like a putt. So I would get down and read this thing. we can see that this one's a little up the hill and a little left to right. So I know I'm gonna aim a little bit left. Now setup wise, you wanna have your feet kind of close together. You don't wanna be shoulder width or wide based. You wanna be pretty close together. I kind of open my stance to the target, and that ball is gonna be off my back toe. I've got my 9-iron pointed at where I want the ball to start. I'm gonna have those hands a little higher and have that heel just a little bit off the ground and have a toe down kind of position with the golf club. And then I'm gonna choke down, and you don't want to hinge those wrists. You don't wanna take a big swing. You basically just wanna take a putter swing. So I'm gonna take a practice swing here to kind of show you what I'm doing. I have a forward press that kind of de-lofts the club, but as you can see, it's just a putter stroke. You're not really doing a full shot. You just want a putter stroke. This is a shot that has to be practiced. You're gonna have to figure out how hard you have to hit it to get it to land in your landing spot and then release up the hill. Let's hit one. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So stance-wise, I've got these kind of close together and open to my target. Toe down, ball position off my back toe, choke down on the club, and then just a nice, easy putter stroke. You get it over the majority of the fringe and have it release up to the hole. That would have been perfect. I would take that all day. Okay, so next we're gonna talk about wind and how wind affects your chipping. Let's say I'm chipping downwind. The ball is not gonna wanna check and it's gonna wanna release more. So if you're chipping downwind, if the wind is at my back when I'm standing here, expect the ball to release more and not have as much check because that wind is gonna be pushing it. Vice versa, if I'm chipping into the wind, I can expect much more spin and that ball to stop more quickly. So be sure to remember that next time you're on the course. If you're into the wind, your ball is gonna check more and it's gonna have less release. Downwind, the ball is gonna check less and it's gonna have more release. All right guys, so you can see this ball is sitting down. I'm going to tell you how to hit this shot, and it's a lot different than how you hit your normal chip shots. You're not trying to get to the back of the ball of this one. You don't want to hit you don't want to hack down on this one trying to hit the back of the ball. You actually want to hit this like a bunker shot. You want to open that club face up, and then you want to hit right about where my club is now and let the grass kind of push this golf ball out. It's going to come out high and soft and knuckling, so it's going to release. But let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. So stance-wise, I got this one open. Club face is open as well. And then I want to hit behind the golf ball. I actually want to hit just like a bunker shot out of this rough. And that rough is going to want to grab it, but pushes the ball out. Should be nice and easy for you. So if you're ever in the deep rough, your ball's sitting down, you want to be able to hit just like a bunker shot. That way it comes out nice and soft. How the grain can affect chipping on and off the green. Off the green, you can see this is into the grain because this is wanting to really grab my club. You can see how that grass is really wanting to come up. Where if I turn around, now when I swing, you can see my club goes right over the top of this. This is down grain. So that shows that the grain on this rough or this fairway shorter grass is traveling this way. How to chip when the ball is sitting and you need to chip into the grain. You want to basically have that toe down, have the heel off the ground. That way you have the least amount of the turf interaction with the front edge, the leading edge of the wedge. You want to have it toe down. You want to stand a little bit closer. As you can see, I'm way closer. You have that club more upright than you would with a normal chip, because here you have that whole leading edge grabbing into that grass. Where when you stand a little bit closer and you go toe down, now you have very little turf interaction with just the toe of the golf club. You put that ball in the back of your stance like so, and then you just take a putter stroke and just try and clip it right off the top of the grass. You don't want to dig because that grain is going to really grab the front leading edge of that wedge, and it's going to want to stop that wedge. It really increases your chances of chunking that chip shot. So now, talking about the grain on the green, how it affects your chipping. Let's say we've learned how to read the grain. If you haven't checked out my video on putting tips that I wish I knew sooner, you can do that. It's going to be in the top right corner of this video. You can go check that out, and it teaches you how to read the grain on the green. Now, how is that going to affect your chipping? When you're chipping down grain and you see a nice shiny light green color to the green, you know, okay, that's going down grain. When you're chipping down grain, that ball is going to want to skip and skid off of that down grain on the green. It's going to check less and it's going to release more, kind of like chipping downwind. However, vice versa, if you're chipping into the grain, you look and you see a darker shade of green towards you, those blades of grass are leaning towards you. So when that ball hits, it's going to want to check harder and way less release. So be sure to pay attention to the grain off the green as well as the grain on the green when you're hitting your chip shots. Be sure to drop a like on this one and be sure to hit that subscribe. I got much more when it comes to tips and drills to help you lower those scores. I truly appreciate your support. We'll catch you next time.